We're going to continue with our video from last week. We had a video for our 125th anniversary, and certainly a lot of fun to look at that last week when Pastors Hornfett and Hogan were here, and we continue with that now at this time, and then we're going to hear from a number of our congregational presidents.
We're going to watch it over there.
All right, we're going to watch it over there. Sometimes these rovers have a mind of their own.
Art and sculpture surround us. Symbolism and worship and music is vital to the spiritual life of our community.
We see music as an integral part of the liturgy that happens every Sunday. All the choirs, the children and the adults, play an integral part of worship, and not, they don't just sing a piece and call it good, but we're involved throughout the worship. And we try to open up a musical opportunity for everybody from kindergarten up through adults. Our adult choir does major works on occasion, but we see our major thrust as being supporters of leaders in worship. That's our goal for both them and the children too.
Day after day, evening after evening, a variety of people and groups gather here to further their particular goals. As a church in the heart of the city, dedicated to opening itself out to others in need, we make our facilities available to more than 50 different groups.
The theme of Zumbro Lutheran Congregation is the theme of reconciliation. That theme has been particularly interpreted, at least in one phase, as a ministry of healing, and one way in which we've tried to express that in the community is to provide space here in our building for a variety of groups that provide services to people with specific needs. We feel that that is a viable and appropriate expression of our theme of reconciliation within the community.
My name is Pat, and I'm a member of Adult Children Anonymous, which is a group founded on the 12 Steps and Traditions of Alcoholics Anonymous. And we have been meeting in a room in this church for as long as I've been coming here, which is 4 years, so it's longer than that. And we are self-supporting, and we don't advertise, and so it is real nice that we have a place that is constant and has been here all along.
Having been reconciled in Christ, much of our ministry is directed towards healing the hurts of others. We touch the lives of people in hospitals. We listen as people share their problems with us. And we try to strengthen others through our ministry of healing.
Lord, I lay my hands upon you and anoint you with oil in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, beseeching him to bestow his grace mightily upon you, that you may know the healing power of his love. Amen.
God has blessed us with the gift of salvation. We in turn are ministers of reconciliation to the rest of the world.
Jesus said, I was stranger and you took me in. In 1966, I joined the Lutheran Church. As a native of the Holy Land, I was born in Bethlehem. I joined Zumbro in 1966 under the leadership of the saint and beloved Pastor Edna Hogan. Yesterday, my daughter got married in this lovely church. We love this church, and may God bless it forever.
It is here in Zumbro that we are reminded and challenged to be disciples. It is from here that we are called into life as witnesses to the power of our risen Lord.
Ecumenical concerns are important to everyone, not just here at Zumbro Lutheran, because there is one faith, one Lord, one baptism, and there's one God that works through us and is in us. And here at Zumbro Lutheran, we've had several opportunities to work with other congregations in dialogue with the Roman Catholic Church, with the Episcopal Church, and other churches also in this area.
Well, I guess if you think of the social ministry
We think in terms of hunger, and we got people right here in Rochester that are hungry. We deal with Channel 1, for instance, but then we also are concerned with world hunger. Or you think in terms of some of the social ministry issues are like housing for the poor. Might be an issue that we're concerned about and try to do something about it. On the other hand, we're concerned about, I guess, the refugees coming in and how they get resettled. And I guess we're looking at all kinds of issues that we express ourselves outside of the church, whether it's trying to mobilize the congregation to give their blood to help other people in need, or whether or not we're concerned about some of the domestic violence kinds of issues that people have. But I guess basically the Social Ministry Committee concerns those kinds of issues that we should get out of the church, out of the gospel, and express that and act it out in the larger community.
One of the exciting new ventures of ministry at Zumbro Lutheran has to do with our continued contact with college students once they leave Zumbro Lutheran for various campuses and universities throughout the United States, really. But especially we have a focus within Minnesota where I make personal pastoral visits to college campuses within about 120-mile radius of Rochester. The focus there is in a couple areas to keep personal pastoral contact with the young adults as they begin adapting to the new environment, to try to make connections with other pastors and ministries on our Lutheran colleges and state universities, and also to do pastoral calls, ministry, to see if there are immediate needs among the listening ear, to ensure that the gospel of Christ continues strong ministry within the ages of young adults, at a time when often many young adults leave the church and miss their connections with the church.
At Zumbro, we're grateful for what we have been and for the possibilities that lie ahead. Knowing that God has richly blessed us with warm and caring people, talented and gifted servants, resources from which to draw for meaningful and far-flung ministries, we rejoice that we can share in the mission task of the church.
I think we're all richly blessed by God's love, and I think it's important that we tell others about this. Sometimes I'm asked to talk to children in schools or elsewhere about my blindness, and what I usually try to emphasize is the fact that they are very richly blessed, and also the fact that sometimes we do have difficulties in our lives, but that we don't have to manage them without God's love. And that's why we can be a people of hope, and I think the children understand that.
The evening passes into night, and the night warms to the dawning light of the ever-new day. Lives are awakened, and individuals struggle to comprehend what the day may bring. Here again is this community of the faithful, who know that they are called to reach into that awakening world and bring to it the healing of the Almighty God. A grateful fellowship of reconciled disciples, awakened to the newness of life in Christ.
As people of God, we go on our way. Repenting, rejoicing, reconciling. Go in peace, serve the Lord. Thanks be to God.
All right, kind of fun, lots of fun to see those pictures and see some of those hairstyles and all the different ways that we bear witness to God's love through the people of God. So thank you. We're going to bear witness in another way to the work that's been done in and through the Congregation Council. at this time, and I'm not going to introduce people individually. Most of them are here, but I will be reading a few of the excerpts from people that aren't here. I would ask folks, because it's a long way to the front, as your time gets closer, perhaps the next one up, why don't you come and sit near the front, and we will just go from one to the other. There is a 2-minute limit for everyone, and there is a trapdoor, so I'm just letting you know. So, we're covering the ground. Bob Gunnan is our first one up. Bob served as Congregational President back in 1976. Bob and his wife Judy still have a home in Rochester and are here oftentimes during the year. And so we read from Bob at this time, from 1976. Following the construction of the new church in 1969, there were cost overruns that amounted to $110,000. This debt resulted in a bank loan with annual payments of $13,000 over and above regular mortgage payments. Can you tell Bob is a banker? This extra short-term debt was strangling the church financially. A decision was made by the council to have congregational meetings over a 5-night period. We had a presentation lasting exactly 59 minutes entitled, "Telling It Like It Is." All church members were encouraged to attend, and most members did attend. The meeting presentations were made by Directing Pastor John Trelsted, the President, Vice President, and the Chairman of the Budget Committee. They centered around all the activities the church provided by itself and for the local community. These included congregation and other church worship services, use of the choir room by numerous groups, gym for basketball and volleyball, kitchen, classrooms, meeting rooms, childcare, senior meetings, Boy and Girl Scouts, etc. Many outside groups used the church, generally at no charge, and it was very expensive. The church was available from 6:30 in the morning to 10 o'clock at night. The question was asked, if we want to balance the budget, which items do we wish to stop providing? The congregation response was very positive. People wanted to keep all of the items provided and agreed to conduct a fundraising project to pay off the short-term debt. This all happened within 9 months. Telling It Like It Is was a very successful endeavor. Giving increased, income increased, and continued to increase in subsequent years. And now we will hear from Willard Johnson.
(1977), a very special year in this regard, because the American Lutheran Church became involved in the outreach idea of evangelism. And so Zumbro hosted in February an area ALC gathering and planned for the year. Dorothy Dahl was the chair of the Life and Growth Committee, and we decided that we should also have a outreach within our congregation. And this was kind of an ambitious idea because we were going to invite everyone who was a member to home fellowship on April the 24th. Dorothy knew the congregation so well that she arranged for the meeting of people all to receive an invitation. What a job. And this was done with fellowship and auxiliary committee support. 49 homes were opened for this evening of fellowship, devotions, getting to know each other. It was one of the great joys of 1977.
I'm Tom Johnson. I was president in 1980. Directing Pastor Trelsted had just announced that he had accepted another position as directing pastor. Then the remaining pastors were Pastor Les Hornfent and Bill Myers. Zumbro Lutheran Church decided we needed to call another directing pastor. Pastor Les Hornfent then accepted the position of interim administrative pastor until until the Zumbro Lutheran Call Committee, chaired by Berdine Erickson, completed their task of recommending a call to the new directing pastor. Pastor Dwayne Hovind accepted the call to Zumbro Lutheran Church as directing pastor on February 27, 1980. He then started his work here on May 1st, 1980. Pastor Hovind has served Zumbro since then as directing pastor and since his retirement in 1993 in so many capacities, documenting interviews with many members, leading and speaking at our Sunday forums, teaching our church history classes, 150th Anniversaries Archives Committee, and Adult Education Committee. One of his first tasks here was to chair a task force to provide recommendations to the state of Minnesota on how to use the state hospital property after their decision to close the facility. This was a significant study with many community leader participants from churches, medical facilities, education, businesses, and the law profession. Pastor Hovind remarked in his first Congregational annual report, "I feel grateful to God for the fine staff that serves effectively and also provides continuity to ministry. It is a joy in Christ to preach to you as a congregation. I am thankful to God for the opportunity to be in your midst as we enter the decade of the 80s. We certainly are also thankful to have Pastor Dwayne and Ann Hovind still serving Zumbro Lutheran in so many ways over these past 35 years. Thanks."
I'm Chuck Johnson, the third Johnson. And you're going to realize I've been on property committee a few times. 1984. Contrary to the predictions of George Orwell in his book 1984, we at Zumbro Lutheran Church were not dictated by Big Brother. We did, however, need to make some changes. The city of Rochester provided steam to many locations downtown, and one of those being our church, and the system deteriorated to the point where they weren't going to replace it. So we were notified we better get our own heating system. And that's what we went about doing, and it was awarded by, or presented to the council. Gordy Vickers was on the properties at that time. And we had a congregation meeting right here on July 29, 1984. It was accepted. It was quality plumbing and heating for $47,425. And we got 2 boilers, a chimney that ran from the basement all the way through the roof at 18 inches around, and 1 water softener for the boiler system. A second project, which again, I've done properties too. In the lowest level on the south side was an unused space or an unfixed up area. And Ellen McGregor headed up a group there. It was a 2-year project, and it was to end in 1984. And they made it. And basically, we divided that space into 2 pieces. One is the Boy Scouts, and the other was our first youth room. And it was done in 1984. A third item I've shared because of our history, our previous church, which is north of here, a couple of blocks. We saved back 1 small stained glass window, and we had it backlighted, and it's hanging now above the stairwell, heading down to the nursery. And that's basically the news from 1984. Incidentally, I just figured out what my problem is. My cell phone was on vibrate.
Well, for the moment, we have run out of Johnsons. My name is Rich Vedder. I was president in 1986. Church attendance was relatively robust in the 80s. Sunday school space was at a premium, so junior high school and high school classes met in the YMCA and Vine Funeral Home. A long-range planning committee discussed whether to add a third service. Parking was an issue. In 1986, 4 rental houses remained east of the church over here on the block, and 3 of those houses in the northeast corner of the block along 6th Street were put up for sale that year, and the council recommended to the congregation that they buy and raise the houses to expand the parking lot. Bids were obtained from 5 contractors. At one point, a developer offered to move the houses and relocate them on some vacant lot that he owned. This would have saved the congregation several $1,000s. He planned to use them as rental property, but the city planning department required him to update the wiring and plumbing before he rented them out. He couldn't afford to do that, so he backed out of the deal, and the congregation had to have the houses raised. The Architecture and Furnishings Committee proposed that at the same time, the congregation construct a passenger drop-off zone just west of the church building, right along 4th Avenue. This would leave some traffic congestion at the front of the church prior to services. Both projects were completed in 1986 at a total cost of $54,000. One large rental house remained just east of the church, as some of you will recall, so I appointed a task force to look into the possibility of purchasing and raising that house. Eventually, that house was also purchased and the parking lot expanded further. Today, that space is occupied by the columbarium, but now I'm stealing the thunder of our next speaker.
I'm David Larson, and I was privileged to serve as president in 1989, which by my personal calculations made me 25 years old. We were served by our pastors Hovind, Hartford, and Grant. We had a budget of something under, just a little bit under $500,000. And during that period of time, we really had no major theological issues, either at Zumbro or in the church at large. Our only personnel issue was the illness of Barb Jensen and her subsequent retirement, and she was replaced by, as administrative secretary by Sharon Moline. As Dick alluded to, Zumbro at that period of time was growing significantly larger. We were getting younger, and we were giving more. Dick had appointed a task force several in his period of time, and we appointed another task force in terms of the Sunday school because we were at an exceeding capacity. And in 1989, we actually considered having Sunday school during the 8:30 and 11 o'clock hours, but eventually decided against that, primarily because we really wanted the children to worship with the family and not be separated. We also had talked about Sunday school during the week itself, primarily on the preschool level, but did not do that. We did make some changes in the auditorium downstairs, the basketball arena and so forth, acoustical changes, so we could accommodate more kids. We supported Linda Young, Meredith Dunn, Nathan Smith, and Joel Bacon in their quest for the ministry in their ministerial graduate education. And then, as Dick alluded to, we had gone through the process of buying property. The last property was the Hicks property over here, and some of you might remember we were debating that as a congregation, but the decision was hastened. This all occurred during the spring and summer because as we were coming to church, especially at the 8:30 service and at the 10 o'clock service during the spring and the summer, there were hot tub parties going on with the participants in that particular establishment. So that, in addition to our needs, hastened the decision for the buying of the house and raising it and converting it to a sod lot where it is presently. Also, we began planning for the 125th celebration and made a decision to support that with $125,000, and I think Julie's probably going to talk more about that.
I'm Julie Caesar, and I was president of the
congregation in 1990 during the 125th anniversary. One of the highlights I would like to share is the Heritage Thanksgiving gift. Instead of celebrating our anniversary with an addition to our church property, something like a bell tower, we decided that instead, remembering how we had been blessed, that we would raise money and then we would give it all away to ministries outside of our congregation. We even had a brochure printed up for this gift. About $70,000 was collected and distributed between Good Earth Village, Lutheran Social Service, Lutheran Campus Ministries, Lutheran Northwestern Seminary, Wartburg Seminary, a new mission church in Faribault, Minnesota, and a Lutheran church in the Cameroon, where they used the money that we gave them to put a new roof on their church. Another highlight that year was the Good Shepherd sculpture, which was created and gifted by the very talented artist and Zumbro member, Connie Swenson. To decide where this sculpture would be placed, Connie, Dwayne Hoban, interior designer Glenn Miller, and myself met at the church. Now, Glenn was very, very insistent that the sculpture would be placed in the place of honor right in the middle of the hall. And when it was pointed out to him that it would also be in the middle of the overflow area for larger services, Glenn said, "Then we will be seated around the Good Shepherd when we gather for worship." It was placed there on a concrete base, and it isn't going to be easily moved.
I'm Bill Horlitz, and I was president in 1993. And unlike the 1989 presidency of David Larson, we did have some staff changes. We called a new directing pastor. We called a new youth ministry pastor. We brought in Jeanette Reeves as the youth director. We brought in 2 interim pastors and replaced one of the interim pastors with a 3rd interim, who was ultimately called as an associate in Chris Blaine. We also experienced some significant facilities issues, a leaking roof, a leaking elevator shaft. These resulted in challenges financially that ultimately led to an expansion in the building. When I was passed on at the next annual meeting, the vice president gave me a little diorama of the year, and it contained a little brass bucket. It contained a scrap of the ceiling. It contains hazardous waste sand in the elevator, and it contains 4 help wanted signs. The one sign or picture that wasn't contained in there that probably should be would be a picture of Lester Hornbeck. Because even though we as lay leaders were challenged with choosing new leadership and call committees, Lester was charged with working with all these new people, 5 new professional staff. He was here when the elevator collapsed. He was here when the roof was leaking during the Jeanette Reeves installation services. We were fortunate that we were able to celebrate Lester's 30th year of ordination. I misspoke a couple of weeks ago. You know, I almost thought, I was going to say 85th, but the ever-ready bunny is still amongst us. And it was a joy to serve under his leadership. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jane Callahan, and I was president in 1996. And Chuck Bates came ahead of me in the presidency and Mark Bradley after. And the story of the new addition is really the story of all 3 presidencies. Under Chuck Bates, we started to have a committee, a visioning committee, to figure out all of these troubles we were having in Sunday school. And it was really the nursery that seemed to tip people over. They felt it wasn't speaking to what a modern parent would want, and that we wouldn't grow as a church if we didn't address the nursery issues. But as we worked on this building committee, and as vice president I sat on it, we kept adding to the laundry list of things we wanted to do. And each time we thought, well, this will give us another group of people, not just the parents of the young, to support this, because during my presidency, they were going to have to vote on this. We were going to have to do quite a persuasion job. So one of the things we discovered was that if there were more than 3 people who needed to use the bathrooms on this floor, somebody was waiting. So when we decided to expand the bathrooms, we thought, well, this will appeal to our more elderly members. And as we continued to look at things, we discovered that there was an unwritten rule that you had to be a member 10 years before you could have coffee in the lounge, but you could only stand. You had to be a member 20 years if you wanted to sit down and have coffee. So we expanded the lounge, the front area, that beautiful stairway down to the nursery, the covered entryway, the cloakroom. We really didn't have a cloakroom, and this is a wintry climate. So that was the package that I inherited as president, and we all got ready, many of us, to go out and speak on this matter. And I remember Chris Gotti trying to get us up to snuff to give these talks. And my favorite one was I went to see a circle, Swelka ladies. They gave me a great piece of cake, and I told them all about this new addition and what it would cost. And they said to me, Jane, it's going to cost more than you say it is. And they said this smiling. And I was like, no, I have been trained. We have extra money in each of these pieces. We have a 10% overall cost allowance for more money. But they just kept smiling and saying, no, it's going to cost more. Well, when Mark Bradley went about building this thing, and I have to mention the name Chuck Johnson, because he was almost an unpaid employee that year. But we sat and received the change orders. A couple of them I'll tell you about. The building was supposed to be attached to bedrock, and it wasn't. So we had to do that, even though the blueprint said it was. Pastor Byrne is moving quickly. He wants me to finish. So the story is, we did go over budget. And so I've always said, if you're going to do a construction project, the people you really need to talk to are the ladies of Zwilka.
My name is Jan Vetter, and my year is 1999. I've titled it An Entrance and 2 Exits. Enter. First, I'm going to exit. Exit, Pastor Nordness retired as pastor of visitation. Enter, Pastor Aker joins Zumbro staff as the new pastor of visitation. The big exit, Pastor Hornfett announced his retirement from active ministry after nearly 33 years at Zumbro. Thus began the party planning. Julie Larson and I had a delightful but daunting task of planning Lester's retirement celebration and recruiting volunteers for 3 distinct events. First, on a Saturday evening, more than 600 people attended a dinner and a roast at the Kayla. Good food, speakers, fun, and Hornfett hankies for the tears. That filled the evening. On Sunday, Zumbro hosted the largest Lutheran potluck in history, according to the Post Bulletin. Pastor Les led the line carrying a very large platter instead of a typical plate so he could sample all of the goodies. The program after lunch highlighted many speakers about Les's community activities throughout his 30-plus years. Les's retirement occurred during the time of many funding cuts to nonprofits, increasing the need for more volunteers. As one speaker indicated, now that Les has retired, we can do more with less.
Good morning. I'm Julie Larson, and I served during the year of 2000, which I'm going to call it a year of challenges and change. Now, the I won't use that word. So Pastor Hornfit, now we know he's going to leave us. And it was a huge hole to fill. And Pastor Solovitz and Pastor Benson had to be alone. We did have a pastor visitation who was part-time. But, we just started feeling like this retirement was we just didn't know how it was going to feel. So, actually, some things unexpected happened also. First of all, we lost our wonderful Shelley Sparley, who was the director of children's ministry. She needed to go on to other things in her life, and we also had the exit of Shane Baker, who decided to take a teaching job at Century High School. And we also had a change, and that was very unexpected. Our pastor of visitation, Pastor Charles Aker, was injured in a monorail accident at Minnesota Zoo and thus had to retire. So on top of all of this, it was almost like Pastor Hornfit's retirement, all of a sudden everything was falling apart, not just that. But if we think about our big idea this week, which is God calls an amazing variety of people to come within our midst. We were so honored then. We hired Maureen Hagan as the children's ministry program, and Lisa Kipp was hired that year for the director of youth ministry. And we welcomed Pastor James Madsen as visitation pastor. The amazing thing too is God kept calling Maureen Hagan and Lisa Kipp into that. They are both pastors, of course, into ministry even more. Okay, so I just want to also elevate. We had a lot of fun planning all the fun things. We did name the Kairos room in honor of Pastor Hornfit. There's a nice plaque in there dedicated to him. And Kairos, means season and opportunity. Hoping, and many of our classes are there. And we had a great financial year that year. So we were really, truly blessed by the congregation and the staff. We made it through, and actually it was a lot of fun, but hard work. And I just am amazed at what the power of prayer can do.
Larson, Paulina Larson. While serving as Congregational President from 2001 until the end of the year, early 2002, 9/11 occurred. In history, 2011 will be remembered for the tragic events of 9/11. Zumbro Lutherans member reacted with the rest of America, mourning family, friends, and the loss of feeling secure in America. The church opened its door to a prayer gathering on September 12th, gaining support and comfort from God and individuals who gathered in prayer. Pastor Benson, Solovitz, Boat, and Madsen continue to offer congregational care to all by offering sermons, prayers, and conversations revolving around the good news of the gospel through this tragic moment in history. Christy Geary, Director of Music and Liturgy, offered music that reflected our situation in life. Pastor Boat summed up the events well. We look back with deep sadness in the loss of both life and innocence from the attacks of 9/11. We do suffer with them, but we must also look forward. Time is marching on to that day of Jesus Christ, and we can be very happy that God has chosen us in this time and place to be His servants and witnesses in the world.
So good morning. I'm Chuck Beatty, served as council president in 2002.
Actually, by that time, we'd made it through the tumultuous Johnson and Larson years. Pastors Mockestead and Hornfed had transitioned us from Norwegian to English. And if my memory serves me correctly, 2002 was actually one of those years that both council presidents and directing pastors yearned for and prayed for. We had a full and stable staff. We were relatively young and enthusiastic and new in their roles. We had a mechanically sound and functioning facility. There were no major controversial issues among the congregation. We had a strong financial year. Obviously, we and I benefited that year from all of our predecessors' hard work in the council, the pastoral and support staff. So having a stable staff, a functioning facility, and financial strength, this allowed us to focus more on team building for the staff, stewardship, and outreach. That year, you, the congregation, made extra payments on our mortgage so we could buy that down early. We gave a very generous gift to the Southeast Minnesota Synod, which was almost a tithe, almost $90,000 from our operating budget. We also extended our local outreach with a major gift to Good Earth Village, which was in the midst of a building campaign at that time, and we offered financial support to a new mission church in Rochester, the People of Hope. So 2002 was a year of teaming and consolidation of the staff while having the financial strength to extend our outreach mission to our synod, as well as partnering with local and regional ministries like Good Earth Village and People of Hope. Maybe it wasn't Camelot, but it was a pretty good year. Thank you.
Erlene Wicker was president in 2003, and I'm going to summarize some of her words here. We set out with 2 congregational goals that we discerned at the council retreat: to strengthen our discipleship among members of all ages, and goal number 2, to increase the diversity of the membership of Zumbro, so that we're more reflective of our community. Erlene writes, looking back a dozen years later, I would say that we have done well with these goals. We might word them a bit differently now, and we are still working on behalf of being welcoming and diverse, but we are much further down the path of Zumbro's journey.
I'm Steve Sperling, and I was president in the year 2004-2005. Just to put it in context, the president prior to me was Larry Nyquist, and then following me was Mel Mullane. One of the things that I wanted to stress is that I can't say it any better than Pastor Herman did in his sermon earlier this morning. We, through our heritage, have run through the areas of diversity. We are a fellowship of differences, as was mentioned in the sermon this morning. And looking back in our heritage, we've had to struggle with various issues, and it's been mentioned, the big transitions from Norwegian to English. We have had always some issues before us. We were fortunate during my presidency not to have any changes in pastoral staff or anything like that. We have had to struggle through issues with such things as interracial marriage, abortion, homosexuality. But the thing that, as a lifelong member of Zumbro, one of the things that I'm most proud of is our willingness to confront these issues and our willingness to not to wrestle with these difficult questions and in a respectful way listen to others who may disagree with us. So I'm very, very proud of that congregation, and growing up here, watching you all have to wrestle with some of these issues prior to my presidency made it easier to realize that we were going to surmount issues as they occur. We will continue to surmount issues as they occur. There are issues in front of us that we don't have any idea are there yet. And our strong heritage, our rich heritage in the past, makes me confident that we will meet these issues head on, whatever they may be. So I can't say it any better than Pastor Byrne did in his sermon this morning. One of the fun things that I had to that I was able to participate in my presidency was, I think the outreach area was becoming a little bit more of a focus for us. And as a congregation, we were able to take a large group out to Holden Village and participate in some worship out there. And for those of you that are not familiar with Holden Village, it's a Lutheran retreat center located out in the Washington mountains of Washington. And on the way, we were also able to participate in constructing a church at Rocky Boy Indian Reservation in Montana. And so I know some of the following presidents will be speaking a little bit more about the outreach, so I'll let them do that.
All right, we have Tim Moline, who was congregational president in 2007, and Tim talks about the vision for mission process that took place at that time. And three particular areas that they looked at were organization, perhaps having a smaller council, a small group ministry, and then also property enhancements. Mike Ransom was president the following year, and Mike talks about being anxious because there were some changes happening with the departures of Pastor Carroll and Pastor Gary Benson. And he talks about seeing a car in front of him, and the sign said, "Relax, God's in charge." And they went up to the bishop, Bishop Buskard, and met in the office, and it became one of those relax, God in charge moments because Pastor Buskard or Bishop Buskard had mentioned that maybe Bishop Nick could serve as a pastor here in the interim, and Pastor Nick was the guiding force for much of that time. And then finally, Diane Kinneberg served in 2009. It was certainly a year of transition. That was the year that I came here. And Diane highlights by saying that was the year that the council became smaller. They went from 18 members to 10 members. They had a much more strategic, large picture sense of how they were meeting during those times. And it was a good year.
Hi, I'm Bob Jenkins, and I was president in 2010. And the thing that struck me most about that year was we were beginning to really incorporate this strategic vision in council meetings. Vern was now solidly a pastor, he'd come in September before, and we basically began thinking about big thoughts, about what Zumbro needs to do in the future, currently. And so we became more of a strategic council and worked through what that might mean. In my year, I can say that one thing that I was very confident about doing was making sure council meetings were less than an hour and a half, and actually tried to stick to that. Those of you who have been on council know that they usually went 2 or 3 hours. I think we're sneaking up to that length now. One of the main things that happened in my year was that Wayne Vogt retired, and we called Pastor Jason. That was a big change. And then the other big thing that we were most interested in was expanding our outreach. So we began thinking about what we might do to get members outside the walls. We did Rocky Boy, as Steve told you about. We thought about beginning outside mission, moving out of this building, and one of the things we accomplished the year after I was president was to begin thinking about going, and we did go to Beyond Lutheran Hospital in Tanzania, and that has continued to be a mission. And those of you who are here now know that we are talking about getting you out of the building and doing things like participating in Open Table and other things, and that's a great future for our congregation.
Good morning, I'm Ann Beatty. I served during 2011 and 2012, the golden years. At that time, we had a staff very similar to the years that we have now. Pastor Lisa finished her seminary time and was called to Zumbro. Our budget was about $2 million at this time. But the big thing that I remember, and I want to share with you this morning, is that at this time, we focused on themes. It was actually kind of the birth of a big idea, I believe, but we didn't call it then. After multiple visionary meetings, this congregation looked at their DNA, their traditions. They started dreaming about the future. And in a new, broader perspective, we had themes that you will recall for the next 3 years as creating a place for all to belong, creating a place for all to worship, and creating a place for all to serve. Our sermons, our book studies, our committee meetings were all focusing attention on finding new ways that we could be about the way of creating a place for all to belong. We called it a new hospitality theme. On Sunday mornings, we were encouraged to sit in new pews around the sanctuary and offer the opportunity. We took time to have 2-minute connections, meeting new and old people, people we didn't know. We even sang songs like we finished this morning, where we welcomed all. Small groups were gathering in the homes, here at church, in coffee shops, all hours of the week. And we were learning to be ministering to one another and looking for new ways to minister to our community, having discussions about new ways to be about the business of discipleship. Sermon series with themes were keeping us focused. And if you remember, we didn't want to miss a one. We might miss something important. And I especially like the fact that the conversation went home. We were continuing to have discussions during the week with our family and friends about what happened that morning at worship. Creative art displays, like we are seeing regularly, we forget, but this was becoming an exciting new chapter in our life. Remember the boat that hung here for months, or the bizarre pictures about when we studied the book of Revelations. And I would also be happy to share that during that time that we struggled and determined it was time to have an alternative worship service on a regular basis on Wednesday evenings. So that was the birth of our Wednesday services. And I'm especially proud of the time that we intentionally made toward welcoming our Dinka brothers and sisters, having our first worship service during that time. Lastly, I love to tell the story that we learned one night in our council meeting during this period. It was one of our youth who was asked, now, do you know what the mission statement of Zumbro Lutheran is? And proudly, that person said, yes, creating a place for all to belong.
Good morning. I'm Kirk Gill. I served as president in 2013 and 2014. From creating a place for all to belong, our congregational focus turned to creating a place for all to serve. In 2013, a congregational assessment was conducted, reaffirming the importance of worship, lifelong learning, and spirituality for Zumbro members. The results reflected a congregation with a high level of energy, who care deeply about their church, and who see it as a source of meaning and purpose in their lives. We began to explore what it means to be a reconciling in Christ community, and we began to explore our congregational mission. We started seeing changes in our neighborhood with new development. We began hearing about DMC, Destination Medical Center, and what it might bring to our area. As we considered how to meet the expense of replacing our cooling system, Zumbro received an outside offer to purchase one of our parking lots. While the offer was significant, it became clear that at that time, it was more important to ensure parking space for all coming to Zumbro than a quick solution to a financial challenge. Zumbro has been in the process of rediscovering what it means to be a downtown church today. We have determined that our journey of faith leads us to build bridges of understanding and peace, to reach out with compassion, and to share the hope of Jesus.
All right, we got done. Let's have our congregational president stand and let's give them a warm round of applause. Thank you for serving, and thank you. You were busy, all of you, and you did good work. Blessings.